Welcome to BizTV's Beyond the Brand. I'm Kelli Phillips. Matt Reiner joins me today. Matt is an expert on the psychology of money, and he's here to help us understand the future of wealth management. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of BizTV's Beyond the Brand. He is an expert on the psychology of money, the shifts in generational investing, and how to effectively incorporate technology like AI into financial planning. He's here to help us understand the future of wealth management. Please welcome Matt Reiner, the managing partner at Capital Investment Advisors and CEO of Wella Strategies and the author of The Future Proof Advisor. Matt, thanks for joining the show. And let's start with how you even got into what you are doing today.
Yeah, we could spend the whole day talking about that. It's been quite the journey. But I grew up only knowing wealth management. I always joke that while kids were watching cartoons, I was watching CNBC, and the reason is my dad founded our firm almost 30 years ago. And I just followed him along, and I just thought this was the only thing to do. And I was intrigued by what he was doing, and I was someone that wanted to be around my dad. And so, that's how the journey started. And, I went through a really kind of interesting journey to get to where I am today in the thought leadership and the focus on the Future Proof Advisor brand. My journey started in the business itself about 17 years ago. And I entered, and our business was already built for basically $1 billion under management organization in terms of infrastructure, operational infrastructure. But at that point, it was the Great Recession. And so our assets under management, as we look at it, was only at around 450 million. So we were half of where we had been pre the Great Recession. And we had about 12 individuals already there. And my dad was there, my brother was there, and I entered with a lot of imposter syndrome of wondering, what is my value? Why am I here? Was I just given this? And so I dealt with that a lot in my early years until we started a technology company about 10 years ago. And I started to run that. And that's where I started to really find a passion on innovation, technology, this blending and communication with other advisors of technology and wealth management, and also leadership, et cetera. And I really found my rhythm and found my spot. And we ran that for 10 years. We raised about $7.5 million from outside capital. We served over about 50 independent advisors with our technology. It was a business support system. So it was the early stages of AI before AI got really cool like it is now. And my big break really happened in that part was when we closed the business down, and I lost all of our investors, every single dime that they had. And the reason it was a big break was it allowed me the opportunity to identify what my path was, but also integrate back into our organization with a different lens, this technological lens, this lens of other firms out there, and help to really build now we lead our transformation division, which is all focused on how to build our organization over the next 5, 10, and 15 years. And it allows me to have this unique lens that's also propelled our business over the past 4 years since we closed that business down. So I've been along the spectrum, and I'm super grateful to have the ability of being able to change what I focused on. And that's all led me to sharing with the community this Future Proof Advisor brand. Our firm, I know we're not going to be able to serve every human in the country. My mission is that I think that every human needs access to a human financial advisor. I think that the value is there. And so with the Future Proof brand and thought leadership was meant to just share what we're learning, share what I'm reading, help understand and help other advisors understand what makes them future proof from being able to be not disrupted by changes in the environment. And we've been able to really build this great community that is all making a great impact on the clients that they serve and expanding and growing the clients that they serve in a meaningful way. So it's been a really fun journey so far. And I feel like it's just really the first or second inning of that journey, which is exciting to me.
So what advice could you give to others that are part of, wealth management and investing? Because I know AI has taken a toll on the industry, and that's part of what your book covers, is it not?
Yeah, it was our national study that came out that, I think that there's a few points that are to touch on, and to be really, exciting for the industry is that we went out and did a national study of affluent Americans that was based on the U.S. Census. And the affluent Americans mean that they have $100,000 of investable assets, so not including their home, or more. And what we found is that 89% of those affluent Americans say that a human continues to deliver more value than technology alone could, which is super exciting. But there's a caveat. The one caveat being that they also expect that these advisors are great with their understanding and usage of technology. 79% of affluent Americans that are currently working with an advisor expect their financial advisor to stay current with financial technology and financial markets. And that's in order to be a great financial advisor. And so our world, what we do and have done is now table stakes. Investment management, financial planning, tax planning, et cetera, are table stakes. They're expecting us to do more. And what's really interesting that I found in our study was that all these numbers are across age demographics and wealth spectrums, is that they are now tying financial advice to technology that they're interacting with. So what I mean by that is more than 1 in 2 Americans, and this is people that have $1 million or more as well, are saying that they would trust a financial advisor's investment advice less if they weren't using the most up-to-date technology that was out there, which is a really interesting linkage that's evolving in the world today, especially because of AI. AI, we have to remember, was this technology that went a different path than traditional technologies. Many technologies usually start in the government sector, then move to the enterprise sector, and then move to the consumer sector. AI is the exact opposite. AI started providing value in the consumer sector first, then the enterprise sector started to catch on, and the government sector is still evolving to that. And what that means is that our clients that we serve are interacting with more advanced technologies than we are using in our firm every single day, and they're finding value and comfort in it every single day. Maybe it's not as high as you would think right now, but every day that they use it and they see new iterations of it, they're gaining more value. And that gap between the technology that we're using that was from the yesterday technology and the technology our clients are using, which is the today technology, is widening. And so it's a really important aspect is that our clients are telling us that we need to stay up to date with technology. And the more that we delay using these advanced technologies because of uncertainty, the further that gap widens. And I think that as advisors, we need to lean into AI. And that's what I'm trying to share with advisors is one side of it. How do you have the mindset to do that, to understand it? How do you create the leverage to have time to invest in it? And then how do you think about using it practically inside of your organization to gain value from it? And I think that you have to look at all of those principles and pillars in order to start implementing it and gaining value from it within your organizations. Because if you just go start using it without the mindset, it takes time. It's not perfect. And you have to have a different mindset about it. And if you don't have leverage, then you're always going to resort back to the thing of highest, like the biggest fire that needs to be put out, which is going to keep you from using this technology, which then keeps the widening gap there. And so that's what I'm trying to share. I'm trying to be a voice that sits in the seat, but also explores all these AI technologies and understands psychology and behavioral aspects of humans to help individuals progress further with this technology to impact their firm and their clients.
So how are you seeing, like, for example, Gen X and millennials, their approach to investing versus the older generations? Are you seeing a huge difference, or is that gap starting to lessen?
I think that the generational conversation is a fun conversation to have. But I think that the needs and the demands are less about the generation and more about the life situation that they're in. I think that Gen X and the younger generations may not have the same view of investing as older generations, mainly because of their life situation. If I am young, I have rent, I have an income, I'm not married and have no kids, and my parents are still around, and I don't own a house, etc. I have an ability to be more risky. I don't necessarily need a human advisor in that stage of my life. And I would go buy Bitcoin and use Robinhood and have fun in that nature. But then when I transition in life and I now have greater obligations, I now have a dependent spouse, I have dependent kids, my job, I lose my job, or I now have a job and I understand that, or I get an inheritance. I have this large lump sum of money that I knew was coming, but now it's here. And now I'm worried about it. Like, these are life changes that then dictate transitions in how we think about investing going forward. And so we could say it's generational, but I think it's just more life stage ideas, because there's a lot of Gen X individuals that, or Gen Z, that have some of these dependencies in some of these situations, and they think more like an older generation investor. And so I think that life events translate that, but I think that all younger generations are always going to be more open and willing because they have less obligations on the table, so they can take more risk on that side. And I'm seeing that now. I do think that as the younger generations become the heirs of inheritances, that they will have a stronger desire and a drive in pushing advisors to use more technology. But why I'm so passionate, no matter what generation you are in, whether you've been using technology since you were 1 year old or you just started using at 95 years old, that there still is a need for a human, is because we are still human beings. And money is emotional. And just looking at natural human beings is that emotions and connection is something that we all yearn for as human beings. And when it comes to money, which is very emotional, you want connection. And we haven't yet created connection with technology. Even though we use technology, we still have connection. If something happens to a younger generation, even if they're in middle school or high school, they look to another human for some help. They either go to their friends to talk to them, or their parents because they got themselves hurt or in trouble. That is going to take generations, and probably well beyond many of us are even around that are watching this ever, because we have to then train younger kids, babies, to not be attracted to another human, right? That starts at birth.
Mm-hmm.
If they started attracted to a robot or an artificial intelligent, computer, then I might say that could change. But until that does, I think that the human being nature of historical past is a driver of why we need connection to humans, especially when it comes to finances.
Matt, we need to take a quick break, but hope you will stick around because we've got more questions for you. Matt Reiner, the Future Proof Advisor. We'll be right back with more BizTV right after this. And we're back with Matt Reiner, the author of The Future Proof Advisor. And Matt, people often avoid financial action due to fear. What is the most common fear that you see? Is it fear of losing money, or is it the fear of not having enough to live the rest of your life on?
I think that we've seen in social science and behavioral finance, et cetera, that the idea of losing money always hurts more than the thought or even the realization of earning money. It's a 2x difference, meaning that, we saw this in my study that I did, that we asked the question, which was just meant to be a fun question, but it gave a lot of insight, was if your advisor, if you had $100,000 to $250,000 of investable assets and your advisor made you $100,000, would you buy them a billboard to thank them? A billboard cost, rental for a month is very cheap. Would you buy that? And there was a very low percentage, less than 30% of people said that they would, which shows that the value of making money is a lot less than the fear of losing money. But I think that there's also this fear of uncertainty, and there is this misunderstanding of what the future is. And because we can't tangibly put it there, we always are paralyzed from taking any action. So when you think about younger generations in retirement savings or investing, you look at someone that's maybe 25 years old and we're telling them to save for retirement. And retirement is, in their minds, 40 years away. They've only lived 25 years. They have no frame of reference of what that future is. And so what we've always seen is that until you get closer and closer to it, the understanding of what you need to do doesn't become clear because you haven't really lived it. And that's always been a challenge from an investor standpoint. And so I think that it is, yes, a fear of loss, but there is this just inability of a human brain. It's not anybody's fault. It's just how we're built, that it's hard for us to comprehend what the future looks like, given we have no relative time frame to compare it to mentally, which holds us back from taking any action in the near term. So it paralyzes our action from taking action, or paralyzes our ability to take action in the near term.
What can folks find out in your book, The Future Proof Advisor? What do you hope they take away after reading it?
Yeah, I think, for the individuals that are reading it, it is tailored much more towards advisors. And I think that as people read it, what I hope that they take away from the study itself is that how we are built, what we are doing today as an industry in wealth management is not going to be what we are doing in the future. That there is a lot of underlying tones that are changing the way that our clients think, that our clients are wanting to interact with us, and that the needs of advice that our clients have from us. And what got us to this point as an industry, we are a fantastic industry. I always say that this is the best job in the world because we are helping clients realize their dreams. We're helping them find their dreams, understand their dreams, save for their dreams, and then live their dreams. We are at the center of that for so many individuals. But what we have done and how my dad started the firm 30 years ago is already different than how we run our firm today. And the way that the world is moving and the speed at which it's moving is at an exponential rate. And for us to sit as an industry and say that we won't be impacted because we have this moat of regulation around us is, I think, is a negative way to think about it, in a hurtful way, not just to our companies and our firms, but to our ability to serve more families across the country. And so what I hope people take is that our clients are asking for it. Our clients are asking for us to innovate. Our clients are asking for us to deliver them more unique services. Our clients are asking for us to go deeper beyond just planning and investment management, to help them find and identify their purpose and help them live their life of purpose. And that means that we have to evolve as advisors. And I hope that they understand and see what are some of the strategies from our pillars that we have laid out, from mind, leverage, and innovation, to help build their firms to deliver more unique value and differentiate value to help their firms grow and deliver a unique client experience.
You mentioned that your book is geared more towards advisors. I watched some of your podcast, and while it may be geared more towards advisors, as a person who invests, the things that I learned from what you were posting were incredible, and things that I can ask my advisor or turn to them for. So I think it's definitely something that's worthwhile for anybody and everybody. Why don't you go ahead and tell people how they can find you, your podcast? And we have to give a little plug to your son, who is absolutely adorable, and he intros your podcast, and he's definitely worth the watch. No offense to you, Matt.
If you could just make it through to that part of the podcast, that is the best and highlight of the podcast, in my opinion, as well. But you can find, I'm MattReiner.com. You can learn everything about what we're doing. I appreciate the call out that you mentioned on the podcast. The goal is to talk to advisors, but I think that there's a lot just from an artificial intelligence standpoint, also just from a way to think about mentally, our mental psychology standpoint, that can be learned in the podcast. So MattReiner.com. The podcast is called the Future Proof Advisor Podcast. You can find me on YouTube. I share a lot on LinkedIn. I share about my family. They are the reason why I do everything that I do. And I want them to be part of this journey as well. But go check it out. And I'd love any feedback. I'm happy to talk with anybody that's out there that wants to talk more about it. But I think, to your point, it's a great thing to listen to understand how you can have different conversations with your advisor. It's helping you identify what is important to you, and how you can have some different conversations with your advisor, and what you can push them on as well from your lens.
Matt, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks for watching BizTV's Beyond the Brand. Be sure to subscribe to the BizTV YouTube channel, where you'll find full episodes of this show, fresh BizTV content, and a few surprises each week to help you stay inspired.